Hey guys, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. So it's still spring. It's April 29th right now. I did a spring update about 2 weeks ago, but a lot changes in 2 weeks. Pretty much none of the trees are really leafed out yet at the time, I don't think. So now they are, and they look pretty cool. So I wanted to do a little overkill update and show you what they look like now. So follow me and let's take a look. Alright, so I'm going to start down here. This is my presidential Grevy lilac. I've just been growing it out like a giant bush. The root base, sorry, the gate's there, so I can't really get to it without a whole bunch of effort, but hopefully you can see that. So it's got a cool little root base going there, and really it's just a pretty, tree slash bush like lilacs are. They can be done as trees or bushes. So for now, I'm just letting it grow big and wild, and someday I'll bonsai that. That's a someday bonsai. Here's one of my silver maples. This is one, if you watched the update a few weeks ago that I posted, let's see if I can show you. I don't know what happened over the winter, but the bark got this like burned kind of look to it. I don't know what that is. There's one other tree on the benches here that I'll show you. So that one silver maple and this one other privet that I've got that burnt effect. No idea what causes it. That's just another silver maple Yamadori that I dug up a few years ago. And let's see if I can show you also my first attempt at a graft. If you can see here, I drilled a hole because what was happening is this big old gnarly trunk, the whole reason I dug this one up, all died back. And it started to sprout out all the new growth at the base, and I thought, well, that's boring. So I took one of the branches, drilled a hole in the trunk, stuck the branch through. That was about 3 years ago, and it's still going. Every spring it leaves out, and it stays leafed out all summer. I don't know if it's going to work as a graft or not. I have no idea, but for now it's working, so I'm going to let it be. Moving on. This is a blueberry bush. This is an Amur maple. I had been letting it grow out. It's kind of droopy because I just watered everything. I'd been letting it grow out, but a few weeks ago I did a major hack on it and cut it way back. You see the chop right there. And now it's leafing out quite a bit. This is just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's a Virginia creeper. They have some cool colors at different times of the year. This is a honeysuckle, which I did an air layer on last June. So June of 2021. It is now April of 2022. And I'm pretty sure the air layer took because I looked closely at it at one point. I could see the roots in there. And also you can see all this growth up top. So it's ready to be, I'm going to call it harvested. I don't know if that's the right term, but we're going to call it harvested. This is a Zelkova cutting from last year. Just kind of stuck it in the pot and it's doing fine. Here's a katana stir that I did a video on maybe a month or so ago. It had just been in a plastic training pot for the last few years, and then I finally decided to give it a decent looking pot. So there it is. Here's my Juniper. I sort of unofficially refer to it as my Mr. Miyagi tree, because for whatever reason that's what it reminds me of. It's doing great. So there is that. In fact, let me see if I can move this to a better spot here for a little while. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I need both hands. There we go. I didn't want to drop that guy trying to fumble around with one hand. So put it there. This is another silver maple. I tied it in a knot a few years ago and it looked pretty cool until the knot closed up, and now it's just a big ugly knob. So someday, sorry, one hand in it today. Someday very soon, I think, I'm going to do a big trunk chop right above that bottom lower branch there. Get rid of the top part, and then that'll just be the new leader. Talk about taper. I think I'll have some taper. Here's another silver maple. Done a few videos on this. Did one recently, in fact. Leafing out. Looking good so far. This is a green ash dual trunk. It had not been doing well for the last few years. It had been just sort of struggling and getting by, and this was my Hail Mary attempt, and I guess it's exactly what it needed. Just in the last month or so, it's just really leafed out. So dwarf Alberta spruce. It also wasn't doing fantastic. It actually broke the pot it was in over the winter. I put it in this pot, which I actually like it better in. But now, if you look closely, you can see new growth all over. Unfortunately, when I say all over, it's like all over in spots I wouldn't choose, but I'm not going to complain because I'm just happy it's there. Here's a little red maple. See the wiring scars? That's from 3 years ago. They're just hanging on for dear life. Did some pretty big cutbacks on it over the winter. This is one of the privets. I have two of these guys. This is, I don't think, no, this is not the one with the little burn marks that I was talking about. Nothing to brag about right now. It's early on, still developing. This is a cherry tree that I did a video on maybe 2 months ago. Hopefully the lighting's not making it bad here, but it's doing great. I was a little worried because I repotted this and did a major cut on it, did some major root pruning, and I was a little early in the season for it. So I thought, ugh, I'm pushing it. But I just had so many to get done in such a short period of time that I had to get an early start. So anyways, it looks like it's doing fine to me. So there it is. Another silver maple. Now here's an interesting one. This is a Zelkova, Japanese elm. The reason I think it's interesting is that was the first one I had. It was the mother tree to all the Zelkova cuttings that I've got. And I thought it died over the winter. I thought, oh man, I did have a casualty, and this is the one. But just recently, if you look close, it did not die. It shall live. And then there's some other questionable looking buds. I can't quite tell if those are live or not, but it doesn't matter because I know that that one is. So there's hope. This is my Shantung maple. You have to know it like I know it to love it the way I do. A lot of people look at it and go, wow, that thing is kind of ugly. But hey, we've been through a lot together. This is one of my very, very original trees. If not the, it might be the original tree. I got this thing, I bought it from some online place, and they delivered it, and it was, I don't know, maybe as big as this stick here. This is back in 2009, I think. And since then, it's been in the ground, then dug up, moved, in the ground again, dug up, moved, in the ground again, dug up, moved. And this time I just have kept it in pots ever since. It's had a lot of big growth and then die back over the winter a couple times. So it's a soldier, man. It's a veteran. It's been through a lot. But I did do some cutbacks, and now I'm going to start moving it toward what I'm going to call its final form. If that's even an accurate thing to say about any bonsai. This is my Siberian elm forest. The first one I ever did. I know I just did a video on this a week ago on a new Siberian elm forest, or a mixed elm forest. But this is the first one that I did, and I think I did this in June of 2019. It started as 9 cuttings. It's now down to 3. But this is, 2022, started in 2019, so it's only 3 years old. And these things grow like crazy. And it's only been leafed out now for maybe a month, if that. I don't know. I just love elms. They're so much fun. This is a wisteria that we can't hardly get to because it's a jungle in there. I did some pretty big cutbacks on this too this year. Not enough of them though, because we got some busy little junction point here, but yeah, we'll get to it. It's a Japanese maple that was getting a little wilty and sick looking, so I put it in the shade. These things don't like a whole lot of sun exposure, even in spring, I guess. It's another Virginia creeper. I've always liked it. It's just kind of gnarly looking with the, you know, the roots are popping out of everywhere. And that's what I like about it. Virginia creepers are not always considered bonsai by some people. They're really kind of vines, but I think they make good bonsai. Another Japanese maple. I got it at the same time I got that one last spring. I can't remember the name of either one of them right now. Sorry. I'll try and look it up, and if so, I'll post the names of them here. Did some wiring on it. It's got some pretty cool looking leaves, but still too young to talk about too much. Oak leaf sumac. I thought maybe this one died because it also broke its pot over winter. This one and the what was the other one? Oh, the dwarf Alberta spruce. Both broke their pots over the winter. But repotted it. I froze too, man. I was out here in January frantically repotting this guy, thinking I don't even know if it's gonna live, but it lived. One of the oaks I did a video on a month or two ago. I know oaks leaf out a little bit later than some others, but I was starting to get worried because all three of my oaks were looking like this. Everybody else was leafing out but these. And then boom, life. So worry no more. Here's the other privet that I was talking about. I think this is the one. So you can see the black marks on the bark there, just like that first silver maple we were looking at. No idea what caused that, and only on these, because I've heard theories like maybe it was a fungus of some type or a bacteria or a bug. It was only 2 random trees, so I don't know how to explain that. It's my little loop-de-loop silver maple. It's just fun. I've had this one for maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 years or something. It's just fun. Got a lot of various Amur maples. I wanted to get to making a forest out of these, but I just didn't get to them in time. So this one I did some major trunk chopping on. Here's another one. I wired this up last year, and you can see the wiring scars. It was only on there for a few weeks, and it was just a growing season, and boom, took no time, cut right into it. This is a catalpa. If you've ever seen these, if you Google them, they have gigantic leaves. But we're going to give it a try as a bonsai. Here's a Willow bonsai. I've done a few videos on this. This is another catalpa. Put this guy over here, out of the way. It's another oak bonsai, and you can see where finally it is starting to bud out right there. There we go. Here's another Amur maple. Just in 1 month. I mean, my goodness. I want to take that as a good sign. It's a good omen. Things are growing so well so early. And a lot of these are just like, that's a willow cutting. Nothing much to talk about. That's a Eastern Redbud, I think it's called. Can't tell now, but they sure are cool looking when they're all leafed out. This is a random assortment of silver maples, which I haven't watered them because I'm going to make some kind of a forest root over rock thing. So stay tuned on that. And let's see, we'll wrap it up here. So here's another Amur maple. Lots of growth on that guy. And I think that's a Zelkova cutting. Could be a Siberian elm cutting. They look pretty similar early on. Later in the season I'll be able to tell, but I wired it up, bent it over, twisted it around. I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. Let's see. This is a bay willow. I've had this for a few years now. They grow like crazy. Another blueberry bush. This will make a great bonsai someday. Just haven't gotten around to starting it yet. It's got some good root flare. Got this old flaky, gnarly looking bark. Good taper. And I've got options. I can go this way with it. I can go that way. I'll probably end up going that way. We'll see. Crabapple tree. I keep meaning to do an air layer. I want to do an air layer right about here. I've had it for about 3 years now, and I just can't get around to it. For whatever reason, it's always the one that I don't get around to. Sorry, crabapple tree. We'll get to you soon, I promise. Here's Loki, the willow. Lots of dieback on Loki this year. I've got to get him cleaned up a bit. This is the one I've talked about a few times in some videos. I swam across the river one year, and there was a big willow tree with a branch just dangling down in the water, and I just reached up and snapped it off. No clippers or anything. Walked around for a couple hours with it, just dipped it in the water, you know, so it wouldn't completely die. Brought it home, stuck in a pot. They all thought I was crazy, but here it is now. It lived, and it's on its way to being a bonsai. Kind of a tall, elegant look that I'm going with here. Some cuttings from the crabapple and Amur. We'll see if they make it. And last but not least, the corkscrew willow. I did some pretty decent cuts on it this year because some of the branches were just getting too long and straight, and I wanted to have more ramification and keep it in a manageable size. So I did some cuts on it. I don't want to sound repetitive with my stories of where these come from, but this was given to me from a friend of mine the winter of 2017/18. He just brought me a cutting about this size, you know, bottle of water, left it in there all winter. In the spring, potted it up, and here it is now. So that's in 5 years. 5 years. And at one point, it was actually bigger. You can see there was another branch, same size, that came off right there. But it fell off the bench one year and snapped off and broke. So it just kind of went with this. And now here it is. So if you ever get the chance to bonsai one of these corkscrew willows, it doesn't take long for it to get a lot of character. And here's my dwarf Korean lilac. Did some big cuts on it, and I repotted it. Unfortunately, I did not have the time when I did it to make a video out of it. I was just trying to get as many done as I could that day, and this is one of them. So it wasn't that glamorous anyways. I just basically pulled it out of the old pot, trimmed it up, trimmed some roots, did some corrections where there was branches crossing and, you know, all the normal things, and put it in its new pot. Very similar to its old pot. So there it is. That's a update on the bonsais in late April. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.